everyone, welcome back to Alice and the Giant Bookshelf, and welcome to the final video in the Christmas series. Like this film, try these books. Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you are new. My name's Alice and this is Harry, my cat, who's just joined me. Hopefully not to sit on the computer keyboard again, but that is where he favours sitting at the moment. Today I'm going to be doing my final Like This Film, Try These Books video. And I've saved my absolute top favourite Christmas film of all time for last. So today we're going to be talking about the amazing Christmas film that is The Muppet Christmas Carol. I absolutely adore The Muppet Christmas Carol and I watch it every single year. Now, if you've never seen The Muppet Christmas Carol, stop watching this video and go and watch it immediately because it is great. Actually, if you haven't watched it, watch this video first so you can hear how awesome it is, and then go and watch it after this video. So before we get into the film, this series is a series that I've been doing in collaboration with Julie over at Hungry Bookworm. Julie asked me if I would like to do something Christmassy as a bit of a collaboration together, and I said yes, and what we came up with was a video series all about our favourite films and book recommendations based on those favourite Christmas films. So by the time this comes out, you will have seen at least 2 of Julie's videos. If you haven't seen her third one yet, do remember to go over there and check it out this week. All the links you need will be in the description down below. Thank you, Julie, for collaborating with me on this. I've really enjoyed this Christmas series. And Julie and I have got one more collaboration, which is slightly different, and it's coming out next week. And that will be a festive book review. So stay tuned for that one. So, the final Like This Film, Try These Books. The Muppets Christmas Carol. What can I say about this film? It takes Dickens' Christmas story, all about Scrooge and the ghosts of Christmases past, present and future, and it turns it into a film starring the Muppets. Scrooge is played by Michael Caine in this film, which is perfect, and he is joined by a whole cast of Muppets, including Gonzo as Charles Dickens himself, accompanied by Rizzo the Rat to tell the story. Well, Dickens is there to tell the story, I mean Gonzo, and Rizzo is there for the food. If you haven't seen this film and you haven't read A Christmas Carol is the story of a man named Scrooge who is very tight with his money and thinks that the poor should just go off to the poorhouses and die and decrease the surplus population, or words to that effect. I think I'm misquoting. He's a miserly, mean old man, and this is the story of what happens to him one Christmas Eve when he is visited by ghosts. The ghosts all visit him in one night. There's the ghost of Christmas past, the ghost of Christmas present, and the ghost of Christmas yet to come, who is very scary. And through the visits of these ghosts, Scrooge is shown what Christmas means to other people. And he learns such a lot about himself and about those who are in his life that he has never paid proper attention to before. This is very much a redemption story, and it has a wonderful ending that just gets me every time. I love this film. It's also a musical, and from the first opening bars of There Goes Mr. Scrooge right up to the end when they're all singing about Christmas and keeping Christmas in their hearts. The songs are just brilliant. One of my favourite songs in it is a lovely song about all the places we find love feeling like Christmas. And when it gets to this time of year, I think in my head one of the lines from it, which is, it's in the singing of a street corner choir, it's going home and getting warm by the fire. It's true wherever you find love, it feels like Christmas. So this film to me embodies Christmas. I watch it every Christmas Eve, and I have done since childhood. Obviously it is very sentimental to me, and I understand that not everybody has that tradition and is that sentimental about it. But if you haven't experienced the joys of the Muppets Christmas Carol yet, please do watch it. Anyway, enough babbling about the film and how much I love it. Let's get on to the books. Although before we do, let's just mention the awesomeness that is Kermit the Frog as Bob Cratchit and Miss Piggy as his wife. So I have chosen, like in the first video about Home Alone, books that mirror some sort of theme in A Christmas Carol. So, first confession to make, I haven't actually as yet fully read A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens. This is because, I don't know why this is, because I love this film so much, and I know that the film, storyline wise, is actually quite faithful to the book. I believe my mum read us probably a picture book version of this as children, and I have seen multiple different film versions, but I've never actually sat down and read Charles Dickens' words for myself. So I intend to remedy that this month. By the time this video comes out, I probably will have read most of, if not all of, A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens. I could not do a video about the Muppets Christmas Carol without recommending this, even though I haven't quite finished reading it myself yet. But I know from the film, I know from what I know about the writing and the things that are said in the film by Charles Dickens, the narrator, aka Gonzo, that this is going to be brilliant. The first recommendation I have is the book that the film was made from, A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens. I've already gone into the main story details of the film, so you'll know what's to come with the book, and I think this is the Ghost of Christmas Present, who is pictured here on the front. The next book I want to recommend is actually another Dickens, and I think that this is definitely the shortest Dickens that I've read so far, and for me it was the most enjoyable Dickens that I've read, and I've chosen this because I think that this too has a great redemption storyline, and it's Great Expectations by Charles Dickens. Pip, the main character in this story, does have many redeeming qualities. He's not like Scrooge, he's not in a place where he seems irredeemable, but he is a person who cares far too much about what other people think and has huge expectations for himself and his life, and wanting to be better than he is, or better than his station has been so far in life. And unfortunately, along the way of his storyline, without spoiling it, there are definitely moments in this where I assume you're meant to feel this way. You feel really cross with Pip for the way he treats the people he's grown up with, and the way he talks about them can be a bit awful at times. But Pip really does redeem himself in my eyes, and learns a lot about himself through the key storyline in this, involving a benefactor and what happens when he finds out who his secret benefactor is. Saying any more than that might ruin this fantastic book for you, so I won't ruin it, but suffice it to say, I really, really enjoyed this book. It has a great redemption storyline in my eyes. I think Pip's journey and how he develops as a person is a really excellent storyline. If you're looking for another Dickens to read after A Christmas Carol, I would recommend this one, Great Expectations. My next book is completely different, and that is a much more modern book, which is Life After Life by Kate Atkinson. I read this book last year, and I have already mentioned it on my channel a couple of times, but quite a long time ago I think, so worth mentioning again. This is the story of Ursula Todd, who is born during a snowstorm in 1910. She is repeatedly born in a snowstorm in 1910 because Ursula keeps living her lives over and over again and getting the chance to change things. This is a book that asks the question, if you had unlimited tries at life, what would you do with them? What would you change? On the blurb it says, what if there were second chances and third chances? In fact, an infinite number of chances to live your life. And would you eventually be able to save the world from its own inevitable destiny? And would you even want to? Those are the questions that Ursula doesn't really struggle with herself, because it's not clear throughout the book that she knows what is happening to her. But for me, this book became a whole lot more interesting as she became more aware of this and has more feelings about it. It's quite a large book, but I read it very quickly. It takes in the Second World War, and that part just had me on the edge of my seat and terrified for what might happen to Ursula. It's just a wonderful, wonderful book. And I think this relates very well to A Christmas Carol in that Ursula is shown different versions of life, just as Scrooge is shown different visions of what might happen if he carries on how he is. So that's how I've related it. It may be tenuous, but any excuse to recommend this wonderful book by Kate Atkinson. Do go out and read it, and please let me know in the comments down below if you do decide to read it, what you think of it, because I absolutely loved this book and it amazed me, and I love the way the author just throws away all the conventions and does exactly what she wants. Absolutely love this book about living lots of different lives. Next, I want to recommend a children's book like I have for the last couple of videos, but today I have two and I couldn't choose between them. The first one was published in 1988 and it's called A Letter to Father Christmas by Rose Impey and Sue Porter. And this is a book that I loved having this read to me as a child. It's all about a little girl called Charlotte who loves to write. She's learned to write, but she can't actually read what she's written yet, so she loves copying people's writing. But when she comes to send her letter to Father Christmas, which she has copied out, she makes a terrible mistake and includes the wrong list out of all her pieces of paper. I'll show you. Yeah, she has lots of different letters, lots of different lists on her table, and she ends up picking the wrong list to go in the envelope with her letter. But this is just such a magical story, and it's about really the spirit of giving. So I chose it because Scrooge learns a lesson about the spirit of giving, and Charlotte doesn't really need to learn that lesson. After her letter has been sent off to Father Christmas, Charlotte worries about the animals that are left out in the snow. And luckily, the list she has accidentally sent means that in her stocking on Christmas morning is lots of different foods and a hot water bottle. Luckily, the mix-up with the list means that Charlotte is able to give presents to the animals in the snow and look after them, and it's just so heartwarming and beautiful, this story. If you would like to read a magical story involving Father Christmas and a little girl who can just write, I think this would be perfect for children aged 6 and upwards, I would say, because it's a bit long, but yeah, this is a lovely one to read with your children in the run-up to Christmas. And if you don't want to read it with children, I would highly recommend buying it for yourself for heartwarming purposes. I would hope this is still in print. It's a lovely, lovely book. My second children's book today, because I couldn't stop myself, is my favourite Christmas book of all time and one of my favourite children's books of all time, and it is Mog's Christmas. This relates to A Christmas Carol because it's all about someone not understanding Christmas but in the end realising that it's a good thing. Mog, who we were introduced to in the book Mog the Forgetful Cat, is very confused by Christmas. So she wakes up one day and nothing is quite right in the house. And the book goes on to take us through Mog's fear of a walking Christmas tree, which is actually being carried by her owner, but she thinks the Christmas tree has started to walk and that anything might happen once trees start to walk. So Mog takes herself away from Christmas and away from the walking tree, and she goes up onto the roof and won't come down. I don't want to spoil the ending of it, but it has a funny ending, and Mog learns soon that Christmas is alright and not to be feared. And this is just a hilarious adventure. If you love cats, you'll love this book because Mog is just so typically foolish, like many cats we might know, and she's just lovely. It's just great. So if you would like a really fun Christmas read, this one's probably suitable for children of age 3 or 4 and up. So yeah, I think anyone could enjoy Mog's Christmas, frankly. It's just great. But definitely get this original Mog's Christmas and not the new version that came out when Mog was on a TV advert, which I'm sure is also very good, but it's a different adventure. That brings me almost to the end of the video, but today I actually want to recommend a film, and this one's directly related to Dickens, and it's called The Man Who Invented Christmas. And I went to see this film with my mum in the cinema, and she still laughs at me today because I cried because it was so heartwarming. This film stars Dan Stevens as Dickens, and it follows Dickens as he writes A Christmas Carol. It's really cool because as he writes them, the characters start to come to life in his mind, and the way this film does that for me was really excellent. And it's a film all about how Dickens basically imagined Christmas and influenced the way we see Christmas by writing A Christmas Carol. And it's just really lovely and heartwarming, and I love things about people who write, so this is a brilliant film. I highly recommend this. If you enjoy A Christmas Carol in any of its forms, do go and try The Man Who Invented Christmas, because it's a really good film and I don't really hear people speak about it much. That brings us to the end today of my recommendations for if you like The Muppets Christmas Carol, you might try these books. I hope you've enjoyed watching this series, which has been a collaboration between me and Julie at Hungry Bookworm. If you haven't seen the previous two videos, I've covered the films Love Actually and Home Alone, and I'll leave a link up here to the Home Alone video, or possibly to a playlist so that you can see both of them. I hope you've enjoyed this Christmas content, and I'll be back next week with a Christmassy book review for you. If you've enjoyed this video, please do give it a like. Please do chat to me down in the comments about why The Muppets Christmas Carol is the best Christmas film of all time. And if you've read any of these books, do let me know what you think. I love to hear from you, and I always enjoy reading your comments on the videos. Thanks again for watching, and I hope you'll all join me again soon for another video all about books here on Alice and the Giant Bookshelf. Bye for now.